think it's a whole paradigm shift. It's a whole mindset thing. How do you take power away from him? He has the power to switch off his app and ride on his own. He doesn't have to be logged onto the app the whole time. He can switch it off and do his own thing. But I think also what's really key is it's really about a paradigm shift. Many people think that by being formal or by being involved in a certain association or group, it kind of like it kind of like amputates that ability for them to do so much. But I'll tell you something. Let's just go to simple things like taxation, for instance. URA. Many informal business people have been evading URA for years. Now you have the tax stamps, where every item produced or every item sold has to have a stamp. The guys in Kikubo, I was talking to Issa Sekito 2 days ago, the guys in Chikubo cannot actually sell their stock, which was pre-lockdown stock. Why? Because stamps were introduced during lockdown. So if you are refunded your products without a stamp, you pay huge fines. But also think about it this way. They're introducing I think it's called electrical invoicing or something invoicing. And the funny thing about it is every single person, whatever you sell, even if it's 2 masks, the system has to track down that sell. And if it tracks down the sell, you have to pay your taxes. Now, if you say you want to stay informal, the system is going to catch up with you one way or another.
Do we have the infrastructure though? Because this is also the other thing that I know. The reason why Taxia is embedded a lot is because the infrastructure to collect it or to monitor it itself is not available, right? So, for example, most of the people keep all their transactions within cash.
Absolutely.
And they only bank money at the teller point, right? So
Yeah.
the only way you maybe can try to track them is checking the bank balance.
Okay. So I'll again tell you something very, very interesting. It will be very difficult for you to do it as a taxman very soon. You see, with already the tax stamps, every item that is produced or manufactured has to pay some bit of taxes, including the beer, which went up by 500 shillings. But also, I think what's really key is the invoicing system. So if I am a formal entity, the Stanbic Business Incubator, there's no way I can go and buy from you if I do not have, or if you do not have that kind of system to support that, purchase. So that, because that at the end of the day also reflects on me who has purchased it. So in so much of a way, you find yourself in a little very rigid thing. I was also talking to some bit of traders who have said that they finally realized that it's actually cheaper for you to notify URA of your VAT, for instance, when you're bringing goods into the country. Because if you do not do that prior to bringing the goods into the country, when you get to the border point or whatever, you instantly have the domestic 15%, which is so huge on your pocket. When you're going again into the market, another cost coming off. By the end of it all, you've lost so much. The Chinaman, on the other hand, will declare what's coming in and he will pay that VAT on the other side. And by the time it comes in, it's a smooth process. So again, it's really about finding this information that can change our paradigms. And a lot of these businessmen do not actually have that information. And I think it's imperative for us to now take that information to them, to support them on running their businesses.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about innovation itself, right? Trying to create new businesses from ideas you just see in the world, from inspiration from out there. Yeah, I know China, for example, the technology sector in China has developed a lot because of copying a lot of work from Silicon Valley, right? Not respecting the copyright law and trying to modify stuff they've copied. Yeah. That's an approach you could take, for example, here in Uganda, and I think it's a smart approach to take. But the problem we have here is the infrastructure problem, right? That's what I also mentioned before. So we have, for example, when I was in school, I started school in 1996, but when I was in school, we were being taught about how Museveni is going to build roads so farmers can sell crops. Yeah. So a couple of years down the road, some roads are there, some are not. But yeah, farmers are still complaining. But now we have a new service that requires new infrastructure, right? For example, these podcasts, I upload them every day to the cloud. I take about, so the audio takes about 5 hours. And, I would say I'm a bit of means, I'm slightly above the middle class. Rather, I'm slightly on the middle class line, right? Above. Yeah, so what would the normal person who wants to innovate around this new infrastructure like internet and the smart devices and all that, what would they do to create services that actually work, right? I know you mentioned safe border, for example. Yeah, safe border has a limit where it can work, not because it's not a useful service, but because people just don't have internet in places in other places. Yeah.
I think it really depends on what solution you're trying to create or what solution you're trying to innovate. And again, it comes back to the initial question of why are you doing this? What problem are you trying to solve? Because if you have no problem, then you're pretty much just doing a fancy thing that has no market or has no use. But I think the most important thing for me would be, maximizing this infrastructure. But how do you maximize the infrastructure? So again, it's kind of like saying we're building a road. And on that road, you're building it for people who have no cars, no bicycles or whatever. What could happen to that road is people would use that road to dry their food, for instance. I've seen a lot of people drying maize and all that stuff on the road, on the tarmac. But I think it's really about the question of how you utilize that infrastructure and how you maximize it is really about what problem are you trying to solve. Does it have the demand? Does it have a market for it? And when you start now answering it from that point, then you understand how much you can maximize that infrastructure or what other opportunities or avenues you can use. We know very well that not very many farmers, for instance, can get onto a lot of these apps that we're setting up for farmers. All of these agriculture apps. But there are interesting ways that you can actually use a normal phone to really do that using other USSD ways and all that stuff. So I think it's really about understanding what you're trying to solve, who you're trying to solve it for, and then understanding what infrastructure you can use. If I want to, for instance, trek into, say, Mount Renzori, there's no way I'm going to drive a car in there. There's no way I'm going to ride a motorcycle in there. I know what to buy or what to use to get up there.
So your advice here is that, first of all, when it comes to funding, the easiest way to get to funding is to formalize, have documentation.
Make your business attractive.
So that's a different thing. And again, I want to point to you, most of my circles are extremely informal. Yeah. The guy who does my Rolexes, his business is attractive. If I had the money, I would invest in it. Right?
And why is Musana making more money and having stores all over the place as well?
The thing about him is, again, that's the question I asked. Because for him, he thinks writing documents is boring, right? His business makes money. Yeah. His business actually makes money. It's attractive. He has a vision. If you have a conversation with him, he has a vision. He knows which spots he wants to take his business to, right?
Absolutely.
But if it would take him, say, 1 year, if you got a bank loan, or 1 year if you got partners to venture with him, he is willing to go 4 years so he can collect that money because he just thinks that the whole writing documents thing is not his thing, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would you invest in his business?
I would. Yes, I would. And that's
without a plan or anything.
Exactly, yeah. Because that's the thing is, I know a few people who cannot. They have a plan. So if you say without a plan, it seems like this man is just trying to shoot randomly. But he's not. He has a plan. It's just not formally documented, right?
Yeah. You see, that's the problem. It would be very suicidal for you to put your money into such a business where you have no idea or indication of if it's making money. So the idea of him making money is his story to you about making money, right? I doubt if you have sat there the whole day to see how many people are coming to eat Rolexes and buy from him. So again, it is. I would consider it very reckless for you to jump into a situation where you're jumping into a business that, first of all, do you know how to make a Rolex?
I know how to make a chapati, but not as good as
one
him.
Very crazy thing that a lot of young people, people like us, always do is when we see something that's making money or we assume it's making money, we all jump into it. We all jump into it without understanding what it's all about. I have seen Mama Ngina doing hamburger here. She's making too many sales. I also run and set up another stall next to her doing the same thing, not knowing that probably she texts her customers or her customers text her and they deliver or they come and pick up. Now, you wonder why you're not making money from her, and then you start thinking, oh, it's witchcraft. I think it's just because you haven't understood the business. You haven't understood the market. There was a time when it was so cool. Again, this pyramid schemes and all these things where someone comes and tells you, oh, boss, we are making money. Bring 5 guys and we shall make more money. If something is so good to be true,
it probably
is definitely not true.
Yeah, okay, so yeah. No, but what you're saying
Yeah.
Makes sense, first of all, yeah. But this is a people thing. This has nothing to do with formalization. And I've worked for a couple of companies in Silicon Valley, tech companies, right?
Yeah.
They have the documents, right? You read
Yeah.
their plan, they take them, they get the funding. They
Yeah.
actually get the funding.
Yeah.
But they have these docs. And the reason they hire people like me, for example, is because they want to, because I have experience on my CV, and I can be sold off as a senior engineer, for example. Yeah. And this helps them reach out to the funding.
Okay.
So they would come to me, get to me, so they can get a document that looks like it makes money. Yeah, a document that would convince you.
Absolutely.
That is the reason they would come to me. But if you actually go into and see what they're doing, it is a pyramid schemish with very smart people around it, right?
Okay. You see, how can I put it? It's very difficult to people are passionate about business and everything. But if you look at most innovators, despite being passionate and everything, they always get, and again, writing documents is so boring and all that stuff, but they usually get someone who understands how to sell and market the product and document it. Look at the story. I mean, the Apple story. Look at the Microsoft story. Look at the Facebook story. I mean, we don't have to look very far. Personally, I have a group of young welders who were trained in oil and gas welding who I invested in. Okay, these guys have become formal. It's now almost about 8 months that they've been formal. Ever since they got formal, and now they're on the National Supply Database for the oil and gas, ever since they got formal, they are so busy making so much money. I don't know if you remember some grill that I posted some time back on social media, and it went viral. As of now, you cannot order anything from them because they're so busy until into next year. But interestingly, because of their formality, they've also now partnered with the Uganda Research Institute, URI. The beauty about that is that now it gives them access to the world. And now they're going to produce anything that we think can actually be manufactured in Uganda or welded in Uganda in preparation and as they wait for the oil and gas story. These guys, in less than 1 year,